How's everyone doing? Good. Good. Any comments or questions on whatever just took place?
It was deep.
It was deep.
The meditation
The meditation was deep.
transcended a
He
number
says.
of times. Like, ooh,
Mhm. Sometimes we come out of a session and we say, that was deep. Feel that, we might describe it different ways. We might say, I felt very settled, or I felt very silent inside, or I felt very expansive, or something like that. Sometimes we might feel, not sure about any of that, but I feel like something good happened that I can't quite put my finger on. And sometimes we feel, man, what a waste of time. I was just sitting there perking away like Mr. Coffee, thinking about this, thinking about that. So which of those is a correct meditation? Which of those is a good meditation?
All of the above.
All of the above. She knows the answer. She's teacher's pet. Yes. Okay. All of the above. All of the above. And it's really, really important, especially when you have what you consider a deep meditation. It's very important to remember that. In fact, in some of the teachers that Yafa and I have spent time with, particularly in the Dzogchen teaching of Tibetan Buddhism, they have like a list of what they call obstacles to meditation, and one of them is bliss. If you feel, it was so good, so deep, so blissful, they go, look out. Okay. Why? Because it's very easy to get attached to that and to identify that as, okay, that's a successful meditation. Ooh, that was so nice. I want to go back there. And then the next time you sit, there's some subtle feeling of, okay, I'm going to try to get back to that place where I was last time. And then you're sunk. Because why did that happen? Because you weren't, this time, because you weren't trying to do anything. Sometimes, when there's there may sometimes be more of a tendency to be able to just let go of your striving when there's someone else leading the meditation. Someone else is driving the bus, and you feel you can just relax in the passenger seat. Okay, which is why you bother to schlep across town and come here on a Tuesday night. So sometimes we feel, okay, it was really deep, great. Sometimes we feel, no, nothing going on. Sometimes, if you've ever noticed this, you're sitting there the whole time going, this is such a waste of time. I'm just sitting here. Blah, 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 blah. And then it's time to come out and you go, I don't feel like opening my eyes now. Or in the middle of all that, now I'm just sitting here. The cat jumps on your lap and you go, get out of here. Right? Because the thing is so natural. We settle into our own awareness, like settling into the couch. We don't have to go anywhere. You're already on the couch. You're always on the couch. Are you aware now? Yes. We're always in awareness. Actually, we always are awareness. We can talk about that in a bit if we want. In any case, awareness, you're always already there. It's just a matter of more kind of settling into it. Not getting anywhere, settling into where you already are. Now, the most reliable way of not settling in to the couch is trying to get somewhere, trying to get to the couch when you're already there. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. So, having some guidance, some teacher, someone up here droning away saying something can help pull those rugs of striving out from under you. But why is it that sometimes we'll be sitting there and just feeling, oh, no settling down taking place. This is not deep, this is shallow, and yet at the end you don't feel like opening your eyes. Or even maybe you feel, yeah, I can open my eyes, walk away fine, and you do. But, and here's the really important thing, somehow the rest of the day goes nicely. Somehow there's a smoothness, a quietness, a coherence, a lack of grinding your gears, a lack of sand in your bathing suit as you're going through your day. That's really what meditation's about. That's really where the rubber meets the road, is on the road, is in activity. Is this, to whatever degree we're accessing this place of pure awareness, this cognition, this recognition of what we are, which is awareness, which is free and open and empty like the sky, like the screen when we turn it on before the movie takes place. That's the nature of our awareness all the time, whether at the beginning or the middle or the end of meditation, and whether we're in the middle of activity. Usually, though, during activity, it gets overshadowed. There's so much going on, so much other stuff that we're, like we were saying before, paying attention to, that we lose track of this silence, but it's always there in the background. But through practice, through sitting, meditating, which really just means resting in this awareness that where you are already, not trying to achieve anything, the recognition of that gets clearer and clearer. The kind of the things settle down, and you get to, and some of that recognition sticks to you. And sometimes it's not a particularly dramatic experience of going deep, but it's a day after day thing, long-term thing of just getting more and more familiar with that being there all the time. And then more and more, whatever else is going on in life, it just makes it smoother, more coherent, simpler. Takes the sting out of stuff that used to sting. Suffering becomes less. Enjoyment becomes more. Everything becomes more fun. So this is why it's worthwhile to make a time, ideally every day, ideally at the same time every day, just so you always get to it. And just, you get this kind of rhythm, settling, coming in, going out, coming in, going out. There's some kind of strength, some kind of momentum in that rhythm. Like you drop your bucket into the well, you bring the water out, and you water your garden. Drop the bucket, water the garden. But in this case, this is some kind of, magic bucket or something. So after you drop it enough times, it's, some fancy plumbing happens, and then the water's just coming all the time. You don't even have to really drop the bucket anymore. Good. What else? Everyone's clear on how simple this thing is. Yeah? Is there anything that seems not simple? If so, don't feel bullied by me sitting here saying it's simple. Bring it up. Let's take care of it. Anything that's like, yeah, but what about X? Or is it okay if Y or Z?
It's harder to do when there's not guidance. Do you have suggestions for
Okay.
No voice.
It's
Keeping you from going off on those trains.
Okay, so she's saying it's harder to do when there's no guidance. First, let's be clear what we mean by that, because if we say it's harder to do, it sounds like there's something we're trying to do that's like. Anytime you say it's hard to do, meditation is hard. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to do that I'm finding hard? Right? Like, if I try to lift this chair with my pinky, that's hard. Okay? So anytime someone says to me, "Oh, the meditation is hard," I say, what is it that you're trying to do that you're finding hard? Be specific. And then usually it's like, I'm trying to get rid of my thoughts. Oh, I'm trying to settle down. I'm trying to feel blissful. I'm trying to be aware. Okay. And the answer is, okay, whatever it is you're trying to do, stop trying to do that. Just drop that. Just drop that. You're already there. You're already aware. Are you aware now? Yeah. It's like, are you on the couch now? Yeah. Just sit back in that. Sit back in that. Now, having said that, it's another thing that if we happen to be off in some long story, some long memory story, or some future planning or expectation or whatever, there is something nice about having some voice saying something. In a way, it doesn't much matter what I say. Just some voice here that it reminds you, oh yeah, we're here resting in this awareness. I got so caught up in whatever, the strudel recipe. It was as if I was making the strudel. Right? Yeah, oh no, I'm just here sitting, just being. So yeah, that's helpful. So what about doing it on your own where there's no guidance? So a couple of things. One thing is when you're meditating at home, you can, at least some of the time, if you feel it's helpful, go to my website, go to my YouTube channel. You can use any of these meditations. You can use the one we're doing tonight. But the other thing is it's also good. It's good for that to happen. It's good to get lost in thinking you're making the strudel. Good to get lost and experience what it's like to be lost, and then what happens when you go have that moment of saying, oh, shit, I'm supposed to be meditating. I was sitting here making strudel in my imagination. Now, what happens next? What happens next for a lot of people, what happens next for almost everyone, at least kind of early in their meditation career, they go, okay, I just wasted 10 minutes of my precious meditation time making strudel. Now, I'm not going to let that happen again. I got to push away those strudel thoughts and bring my attention back here to awareness. And I'm going to not let it happen again. Okay. So you'll try to do that for a while, and until you eventually give up on that, because that doesn't work. And all that does is add strain to the whole thing. Makes it less, and if you keep trying to meditate that way, and a lot of people, and this is really where the guidance becomes useful, helpful. If you keep trying to meditate that way, as so many people do, you'll soon stop. You'll soon give up on it because it's not fun, because it's strain. Why should you take time out of your life every day to strain? Life has enough strain. Life has enough suffering in it. Okay, so when you realize, oh, I've been sitting here making strudel in my imagination. Up until before you realized it, could you do anything about it? No, because you didn't realize it. Once you realize it, and this is the point, this is the crucial moment, this is where people often handle it unskillfully. They go, oh, I've been making strudel, I've been caught up in that, now I have to come out of that. At that point, is it true that you have to somehow come out of that? Or are you already out of it? You're already out of it. We know that by virtue of the fact that you realized that you were in it. I have been making strudel. I have been caught up in making strudel. Not I am caught up in making strudel. If you were caught, if I'm caught up now, I don't know I'm caught up because I'm caught up. The moment I realize I've been caught up, I'm no longer caught up. So at that point, if I'm going to be meditating skillfully, what is it appropriate for me to do about being caught up in strudel? Nothing. Thank you. We have a winner. Right. Right. At that point, you're already out. You're already out. See, now this is can you see how easy it is to mishandle this little crucial moment? At this point, you're already out, and then what most people do is they'll try to get out. When they're already out, and then they just tie themselves up in knots. They try, okay, now I want to get out and stay out. You can't do either of those things. You can't get out because you're already out, and you can't stay out because it's just the nature of the mind. You're going to go back in there, and it's fine. And then you come out again, you go in, you come out. That's the process of meditation. Getting caught up in the thing, and then realizing that you were caught up, and then maybe going through some, well, what should I do about it? And then maybe you'll remember this conversation. Oh, I don't have to do anything. I'm right here. Just relax back into the big couch of awareness. And if there's some strudel there with you coming and going, doesn't matter. And by doing that repeatedly, day in and day out, we become more and more familiar with the thing. We become less caught up in this drama of stuff coming and going. It still comes and goes, but it's just some ripples on the stream. And the tendency to get caught up becomes less over time. Because, for one thing, more and more we become familiar with that, the deliciousness of that silence. And the mind just more and more gravitates towards staying there. My sister was here visiting for a couple of days. She just went back day before yesterday. She lives in Texas. But she lived for many years in Holland, and she speaks Dutch. And I learned this wonderful Dutch expression from her, lekker niks. Lekker niks. It means delicious nothing.
Nix.
Right?
Like in German, nix.
Like in German, yeah, right. Lekker nicht in German, right. Yeah, yummy nothing. Right? So what is this awareness like? It's like nothing. Is it red or yellow or blue? No. None of the above. No color. Is it hard or soft? No, nothing. No texture. Is it old or young? No, no age. Is it big or small? No, no size. It's just nothing. It's total, I'm going to say emptiness, but the moment I say emptiness, it's emptiness. It's like the void. It's the black hole. No, it's not that either. Whatever you think it is, no, it's not that. It's not that, but and when you describe it to people, like gloomy French existentialist philosophers, they think, they write all this stuff, the void is so terrifying, and blah, blah. And that's because they were very smart about intellectualizing it, but they didn't get guided into the experience of it. You have the experience of it, you go, oh no, it's just nothing, but it's delicious nothing. It's lekker nix. And so the mind more and more just gravitates there, and more loves it so much that more and more it stays there even as you come out into activity. More and more you recognize, here's the background. It's the screen is always here as the background of the whole movie. So yeah, when you're meditating on your own at home, you get caught up in stuff, and then you realize, you realize that you've been caught up and you're already out. Just rest in that. And maybe sometimes do the practice with you can use a voice from one of the audio tracks on my site, or, any teacher, any guide that you feel, simpatico with, and that guides. And I would say good to have someone who guides in this spirit of non-effort, non-striving. And then sometimes on your own. It's like the training wheels, and the training wheels become less necessary. Good. What else? Yes.
One tip that my friend gave me was to sit with the intention of noticing the thoughts that are criticizing everything against the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was helpful because to detach myself from the desire or the obsession to feel the bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened maybe once or twice randomly, as you said, when I didn't expect it. And then anytime I sat in meditation and there was no bliss, then I was frustrated.
Yeah.
So now that I sit and I know those thoughts are gonna come, I'm like, oh, that's part of the game.
Yes.
That's why I'm sitting, and it became much easier to do.
Yes.
See.
Yes. Yes. Say that again. How do you phrase it? Sit with the expectation.
You sit with the intention instead of the intention of wanting the bliss. You sit with the intention of noticing every thought that's gonna go against what is. So I'm hungry, I'm tired, oh, I wish this would happen, and this story is more interesting.
Yeah.
Any thought that pretends to be more interesting than what's happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's I like that a lot. There's a lot of kind of slightly different ways to put that from slightly different angles. One that was very, and since that really kind of works for you, that's great. One that really works for me, I heard this from a teacher named Kedar Harris in 1993 on a retreat in Oregon. And he said, sitting here right now, experiencing whatever you're experiencing, whether you're meditating or just us sitting here right now, he said, if you were a Buddha, right, if you were an awakened one, what would you want to change about your experience right now of this present moment? If you were a Buddha, if you were an awakened being, what would you want to change about your experience of this present moment? Would you go, nothing? Okay, we have another winner. Right. Everyone, we all know that answer, don't we? Even if you've never read, page 1 of the teachings of the Buddha. Somehow we understand that to be awakened, to be realized, to be tuned into what's what, is to know that everything's cool. Exactly the way it is. Right? We know that the Buddha, and the Buddha, Jesus, Socrates, Lao Tzu, Shankara, Ananda Ma, any of these great awakened people, and a bunch of people with names like, Joe and Fred and Nancy, who we've never met and just look completely ordinary. If they're sitting here, they're not going to say, I'd be having a real good time if only Dean and Yaffa had chosen a more imaginative color to paint these walls. These beige walls are so boring. I'm really getting bummed out here. No, the Buddha is fine with it just the way it is. Okay? So if we're sitting there imagining that things are not fine just the way they are, who's right, us or the Buddha? Right? See, and we know, like our Buddha wisdom knows the right answer. So it's very good to then just examine that. Know that this stuff is going to come up. We're going to feel, things are okay. I can't be okay with this thing, whatever it is. That's going to come up. And that's how we create our own suffering. That's how we create our own suffering. I remember years ago sitting on a New Jersey transit train going into New York and going, it's the afternoon. This is time for my evening meditation. I'm back here and sitting here, and I sit and I close my eyes. Oh, this is so nice just sitting here meditating. I've been busy running around all day teaching school, but now I can sit here and meditate. And then the next stop, it was the Roselle Park stop. this girl gets on with her cell phone and she's yakking away on her cell phone, this whole thing. And then I said to her, and she said to me, and he said, and I'm sitting there going, "Grrr," you know, and it's so rude and so right, and this girl, and I did that for a while, and then suddenly I saw what I was doing. It was as if I kind of, you know, from out here, saw what I was doing, and I go, you throw up your arms and say, ha ha ha, you have a good laugh at yourself, and sit back in the couch of awareness, and that, because that's all part of it. And whatever you get, whatever comes along. Now something very interesting happened in the meditation tonight. There's actually a good teaching here, right? We were sitting here, we were starting to explore and about what we're paying attention to, the sound of the fountain and the sound of the voices. And then at a certain point, most of us probably realized this voice of someone out on the street was some person having a really bad time. Some possibly, you know, intoxicated or mentally ill person or something, having some really, like if we were on the sidewalk with that person, we would just
Go to the other side.
go to the other side as quickly, avoid eye contact. We all know the drill, right? And then at a certain point, Yafa and I both had the thought, oh, let's close the door on this. Let's mute that a little.
Well, also it's just taking action. Like you take action when you need to.
Right. Now, if we're on the sidewalk, it's taking action, and the fact that we need to, that it's wise, it's prudent to take action is very clear. So we're going to, you know, cross to the other side because this person might be mentally ill, violent, unpredictable. Taking action, is it necessary to close the door to take action to, because, oh, there's all this sound of this unpleasant, disturbing voice going on? In principle, in theory, no. In theory, no. Right? In absolute terms, no. It's just one more thing. It's just one more thing. However, I mean, I wasn't thinking about the fact that person could see
that's what I was.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right. That's
that
right.
was my taking action.
Right.
Had nothing to do with the sound.
Duh. Okay. So
It
see,
was, I wanted to just close the door so we were all safely inside.
oh yeah, I forgot. There's a sign out there that says "Welcome, meditation. Don't
in."
bother with that. Come on in." As usual, she's much more practical-minded than I am. I forget about some of this earth plane stuff. I'm sorry?
I said, and the bonus was the mosquitoes couldn't come in
Oh,
anymore.
mosquitoes. Oh, right. Good point.
But yeah, the sound.
But let's look at this for a minute. Let's say that was not an issue. There was no welcome sign there. Let's say the gate was locked. So
Yeah, then
would there be a point to closing the door and muting the sound?
Yes.
Yeah, why?
I don't know about for others. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I would trade. Okay, there's a intellectual existential question. Oh no, I should be accepting everything, even though that's
Mhm.
pleasant. Okay, that's all part of the texture of life, etc.
Right?
I was.
But realistically,
Mm-hmm.
if I think 3 seconds to shut the door, it'll save me 10 minutes of this hassling whatever.
Right.
And
Yeah.
It would be, to me, effort worth, that would pay off. It
Yeah.
would be worth it.
Yeah. And this is what I was starting to say. In theory, it doesn't matter what the sound is. It's all part of the texture of life, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a wonderful saying that in theory, there's no difference between theory and practice. But in practice, there is. Okay. And in fact, like sitting on that train, you know, I mean, for me, in that case, the right answer was, okay, just stay there, and I kind of got to that place of accepting, and it was great. It was a much more profound teaching for me. But the fact of the matter is, if it was possible for me to easily move to the next car or a seat farther away from, that's not a terrible option either. Except that then there's a point, okay, then you got to move for this thing, then you got to move for... I had this thing years ago. I was on a retreat in with Maharishi in Mallorca. It's 19...
Mallorca. I'm going there.
You're going to Mallorca? Wow. So this is in the old days when Fu Ding and I both used to go on retreats with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. There's this picture here. And he did this very clever thing that he would have winter retreats at beach resorts and summer retreats at ski resorts, because that's where we got the best prices. So this was Mallorca, which is it's a wonderful island in the Mediterranean. It's a beach resort, so it is in the middle of winter. And we were doing long hours and hours of meditation, just in the deep cooker. And we were in this hotel on the beach. I was on about the 6th floor or so. And as it happened, right across the room, right across the hallway from my door was a little sort of alcove where the maids used to go to hang out and gossip when they weren't making up rooms. And I understand just enough of Spanish that I would find myself sitting there in my meditation, kind of half following their conversations, and I would sit there going, "No, Maharishi says noise doesn't matter." No. And then and I'm sitting there. It's the middle of winter, and the heat's not that good, so I'm all in long johns and wrapped up in blankets and all that. And then finally I get to the point, and I'd be sitting there, I'd spend an hour like composing my speech in Spanish for how I'm going to cuss out these maids, right? And then finally I'd jump up and go out and I'd curse out the maids in Spanish, and they would laugh at me, and then it would go on like that. Finally I complained because this went on for day after day, finally I complained to the retreat manager, and he got them to go, somewhere else. So I go, okay, now I can meditate. And I sit down, and it's nice and quiet. There's no maids talking. And now I start to notice all the sounds my radiator is making. All the popping and the cracking and the hissing and all that. So now I start okay, if I put a heavy book on this part, it'll damp out that vibration. If I move my whole seat, get all my cushions and my blankets, move to this corner of the room, and I finally get to where, okay, now, so this is like another 3 days of this insanity. So now, okay, I've got the radiator things right now. Now it's quiet. Now I can meditate. And now I'm hearing the waves of the Mediterranean lapping up against the beach.
That should be a good.
That
should be a good meditation.
Everything bothered you.
What? Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting? That's one person would say, "Oh, that's a soothing sound. That's a good sound for your meditation." Is that going to be the same for everyone?
Well, I was thinking it depends on your mood. It sounds like you were in some kind of headspace that was.
Oh, I was in a headspace.
You need to join the maids and just be with
I was in a headspace, but especially when you go on these long retreats, those of you who've done this know that's kind of what you go there for, is to see all your insanity and have it come out and kind of exorcise that in a way. And so, and in any case, so I find myself sitting there going, okay, now what can I do about this sound of the waves? Maybe I could talk to Maharishi. And at that point I realized, wait a minute, I see, I'm crazy. It's not the waves, it's not the radiator, it's not the maids, it's me. It's what do all these situations have in common? What's the common denominator of all these so-called problems? Let's see, me and the maids, me and the radiator, me. Oh, me. Right? Have you ever known people that they keep telling you about all their bad relationships, all their bum romances, one after the other? What's the common denominator in all those romances? It's them, right? So right there, that's the Buddha's Four Noble Truths in a nutshell, right there. First noble truth, I'm suffering. Something's not okay. Something's not okay. Something is, some feeling of the pebble in the shoe, something. The experience of this moment just as it is not satisfactory. Something has to be added to it or taken away from it. It's the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. Okay. And then that's not a big surprise. Everyone suffers. Shit happens. It's going around. Right? Universal human situation. The big surprise is the second noble truth. What is the source of the suffering? It's me. It's not the other stuff. It's not the pebble in the shoe. It's not the waves. It's not the maids. It's me straining against it. It's me deciding it's unsatisfactory. And that leads us naturally to the third noble truth, the cessation of suffering, which is when you let go of that. I've lately been seeing people wearing T-shirts that you had a shirt or a hat, right, with the Buddha saying, let go of that shit. Right, yeah. Let that shit go. That's a slight paraphrase of the third noble truth, that the cessation of suffering comes when you let that go. You stop requiring something to be added to or taken away from the present moment in order for you to be able to relax into the couch of awareness.
But doesn't it make sense to take the pebble out of your shoe?
If you can.
Yeah. On the literal level, of course, if there's a pebble in my shoe, actually, as I said that, I was thinking of a bad example. Right. Of course, on a literal level, if there's a pebble in my shoe, anything we can do to make if I have a choice between being stuck when we go to one of these cafes here in Venice, and we're a sidewalk cafe, if my chair's in the sun, I hate being in direct sun. I'm going to insist on getting a seat in the shade, right? If something's going on that, something I can do to make things more comfy for me or some member of my family, starting with me, then my family, then if there's some time left over, y'all other 7 billion of you, right? I mean, let's be realistic. For me anyway, that's the way it works. Yeah, we're going to do it.
That's human.
It's being human. It's being human. By becoming enlightened humans, we don't stop being humans. We may be enlightened humans, but we're still humans. If I got a choice between eating mud and ice cream, I'll take the ice cream every time.
So you have invested a lot of time over the years, meditation, going to retreats.
Yeah.
Is enlightenment what you were in pursuit of?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And not everyone thinks in those terms. It so happens that I did. A lot of people come to this, they come to these teachings and these practices in some cases because there was some very specific pebble in their shoe that they could not get rid of. A lot of people have to really bottom out. It's something in their life that's really not working. A lot of people come to the teachings because of a romantic breakup or a crisis with their health or the death of a loved one or a career crisis. Something melts down. Something.
I said, or all of the above.
Or all of the above. Like, if it's all of the above and you made it into this room here, congratulations, glad you made it. So some people, it's more in terms of, I've been very fortunate. My life has been, I've had some challenging stuff happen. Mostly it's been pretty smooth sailing. I had a couple of experiences. Most of you have heard these stories. I don't want to tell them again. But I had a few things happen in childhood, some childhood experiences of little glimpses of, that expansiveness that made me say, ooh, what is that? I want more of that. And, before I was out of high school, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Tao Te Ching. And so, yeah, I was on the trail of that from the get-go. To me, that just made made more sense than anything else.
What was the phrase you would say, or somebody said, you come for the stress relief?
Yeah. I'd say, yeah, you come for the stress release, you'll stay for the enlightenment. You know, you come because, oh, there's this one problem that I need to have this eased up. And you find that this stuff does ease that problem, but then you realize that the problems are like whack-a-mole. Right? It's going to be the one thing, and it's, you know, like Gilda Radner used to say on SNL a million years ago. It's always something, right? If you yeah. And I've seen people do this, and they go, "Okay, well, I solved my problem. Well, thank you very much. Bye. I'm done with this." Right? But then it's going to be something else until you realize, no, what you need to do is see how, not just understand the suffering associated with that one situation and have that eased, but see the mechanics of how the suffering associated with all situations works. How, because if it's taking care of this mole over here, whack. If you whack this mole over here and then this one comes up, you spend your life doing that. But the Buddha solution is realizing, no, it's not the moles. Again, on the practical level, you do what you do, and you don't try to do what you can't do. And you know that it's all ultimately okay, and you learn to just relax into awareness, into this place, you know, like when Fuding said, oh, it was really deep. That's the place of no suffering. That's the place of bliss. That's the... this is the last story. It's cookie time. Yes.
Fourth noble truth.
Yes.
Yes, the fourth noble truth.
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
I mean,
Good.
yeah.
Yes, I
do
gotta
that.
finish that. I'll connect to that in 30 seconds. So years ago, I was with Maharishi in Estes Park, Colorado, 1970. It was a Boy Scout camp in the winter, not winterized. It was miserable. It was great. And there was a guy there who had been a pilot with the Flying Tigers, and he lost an arm when he crashed his plane. And one night he got up to tell his story, and he talked about that, and talked about, you know, losing the arm, and he'd been in constant chronic pain ever since. And he said, the first time I meditated, and he said, and that's when I realized there's no pain in the transcendent. You know, and that's just, it was so moving to me. That place where you're beyond pain, you're beyond suffering. And that place is always available. It's always there in the background, but usually we miss it because we get stuck with all the stuff in the foreground. So, first noble truth, suffering happens. Second noble truth, we're making the suffering happen. It's not the external situation. It's the unskillful way we deal with it, which is the best possible news. Because if it's the universe, the world that makes us suffer, we're screwed. The world's bigger than us. We can't whack all those moles. Since it's just us making it happen, we can, you know, it's us knocking ourselves over the head. Doctor, it hurts when I do like this. Don't do like that. We can stop. That's the third noble truth. Don't do like the second noble truth. No, the first noble truth, suffering's happening. Ow, 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 ow. Second noble truth, it's me doing it. Therefore, third noble truth, I can stop. Seems like that's all we should need. Problem solved. We're all done. We're all enlightened. But then, oh my God, I'm doing it again. Why? Because it's such an ingrained habit. So I gotta sit down and meditate. I need more practice. That's the fourth noble truth. Practice. Fourth noble truth. Sit down, do your practice every morning. The Buddha elaborated. The whole way to practice something he called the Noble Eightfold Path. Right, meditation is the kind of key one. But also right speech. Right, how to bring that into speech and livelihood and all that. In a nutshell, practice.
Isn't it also that acceptance will ease perhaps suffering? Acceptance.
Yeah. There's a wonderful interview. Did any of you see this? Did any of you see this interview that was just happened last week about a 40-something minute Anderson Cooper interviewing Stephen Colbert. You saw parts of it. Watch that interview. This is your homework.
It was last week.
Yeah, but you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. Try to find the whole 40-something minute version. It's beautiful. These are two really good, smart, wonderful, big-hearted people who both have had tragedies in their lives. You know, Anderson Cooper, as a young man, watched his brother jump off of a ledge, commit suicide. And Colbert, when he was 10 years old, his father and two of his brothers were killed in a plane crash. Okay, and at one point there, they start talking about that, and Colbert talks about it so beautifully. And watch it, because it's everything we're saying here tonight. But he comes from the point of view of a Catholic, so he puts it in Colbert. So he puts it in and not heavy doctrinaire. In fact, at one point he said, "So I must be either a Catholic or a Buddhist." Right? But there's this beautiful thing where he says, what punishment? It's like, this is the question he asks himself, and it's like us asking, you know, if you were a Buddha, what would you want to change?
Is this Colbert?
Yeah,
Yes.
This is Colbert, and he says, I'm not sure I have this exact, something like this. He says, what punishment is not a gift of God?
Wow.
Yeah. What punishment is not a gift of God? Yeah, it's so challenging, that language. It's really beautiful. It's really, you know, and that it is, as you're saying, acceptance and accepting. And as he said, it's not that I wouldn't wish it not to have happened. It's not that I say, okay, whatever, if you've got the chance, of course, you do what you can to stop these things from happening. But then the thing happens, and it always does, one way or another. To be able to say, okay, accept this. To me, it's when I hear those words, it's like it's a visceral thing. It's not a doctrinaire thing. Okay, God knows, it's like there's a big man in the sky with a big calculator figuring out what. It's not like that. It's like, accept it. Like not trying to push away the sound of the thing out on the sidewalk, but just letting it in. It's all part of the tapestry, something like that. Okay, so this Sunday is our day-long retreat on the poetry of enlightenment. We're going to have lots of deep immersion in meditation and going deep into wonderful poems of Rumi and Kabir and Walt Whitman and Emily Dickinson
And Dr. Seuss.
and Dr. Seuss. And there's about 3 spots left. So if you're interested, you can talk to me or Yafa afterward and sign up. There's about 3 or 4 spots left. Okay? So may all beings swiftly realize their own ability to let that shit go and relax into their own true nature, the boundless okayness of pure, clear, empty, luminous, sky-like awareness, lekker nix, delicious nothing. And thus may peace prevail spontaneously throughout the universe. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.